As Will and Judy keep an eye on Penny's health from a lander, she ventures through the unoccupied Fortuna, which hasn't been used for 2 decades. Upon confirmation that the emergency launch vehicle was absent, Penny switched on the electricity and headed to Bridge in her mission of locating where they had gone. A lifeless body wearing a spacesuit floated around them, coming into contact with Penny's back as she powered up Fortuna and eventually located radio signal from missing lander planet nearest to them. Carson, the payload specialist, is present. Penny confirms and she resumes her work. The crew is in their syrup tubes when she examines the ship's monitors. A big asteroid approaches the lander. The lander's computer system locks Will out of control and activates the landing through autopilot via the computer. When Penny is unable to obtain the coordinates, she informs her siblings that she is en route, and Judy directs VJ to get everyone ready for landing. To Penny's great astonishment, Judy pulls her in as she hops over from the Fortuna to the lander just in time. An extraterrestrial is moving around the tubes on the Fortuna. After 349 days, as Will jolts awake from a harrowing dream, he finds the robot keeping vigil at his side rather than on watch. When Judy and Penny appear from the neighboring camp they've erected outside, Will ventures out of their lander to take in their new home. Captivated by this dead planet's beauty, Judy notes its dying condition in her captain's log as those around them come alive with activity preparing for her parents' arrival. Amazed by the starry night sky, peppered with meteor showers day and night, these alien adventurers gawk agog at this distant world before them. As Smith speaks, the entire crew anxiously wonders if they will make it to Alpha Centauri. To restore their engines, they've been harvesting titanium, yet have only obtained 72% of what is needed. Will has dedicated himself to managing operations with barely any rest in months. However, he remains strong and silent about his exhaustion. Judy believes perhaps Penny is mad at her. Both she and the robot are on a mission for purposeful lives. Robot and Judy took a daring step to reach the Fortuna crew by launching a rocket. Unfortunately, it failed in its mission of taking them out of the valley. John meticulously records the robot patrol's movements in the treacherous system, not realizing he and his search team are being watched from a distant rainforest world. Gathering essential supplies as well as debris from the Resolute is their top priority. However, John warns his fellow searchers to avoid contact with any of the robots regardless. Shockingly, one of them fails to remain hidden and gets fatally shot by an automated patrol that had come across their hiding spot. After revealing to Liam Tufeld that she had abandoned her novel, Penny hesitantly admits that there were moments when she used to worry too much about what was happening with their parents. But instead of criticizing her, he graciously praises her ability to be present in the moment and not let thoughts of the past or future weigh down on her. As a result, they share an intimate kiss. Smith entered the room, asking questions as Will and Robot went on with their labor of forging titanium. Smith noticed that people were far from enthusiastic about being stuck there and urged him to stop causing trouble for Will in the hopes of speeding up his work. It wouldn't help anyway. She offered any kind of aid that didn't require physical effort before finally departing. Will strums his guitar on the bridge, alerting everyone of an incoming meteor detected by sensors. He desperately searches for Penny, but she is nowhere to be found. Right before the explosion in the atmosphere, he finally catches sight of her with a partner as they quickly part ways when Judy notices them together. She scolds Penny for setting such a poor example, and Will takes comfort that no one was harmed during this tragedy. Penny claims that she is not setting an example, and issues a foreboding warning that a meteor may occasionally fail to burn up in the atmosphere before leaving. VJ reported that the asteroid pieces from last year's catastrophe were accumulating in orbit, and shortly the ship's computer won't be capable of navigating them through. Will asserted if he had enough titanium to craft a new engine. Despite their short 4 or 5 days remaining, it could take him only 4 hours. Judging by Judy's announcement as she gathered her crewmates together, they found a titanium vein 2 miles up. Robot was unable to bring it down because the spire couldn't carry his load. As they ascend, the atmospheric pressure starts to decrease substantially, a reminder of the disastrous event that wiped out most of this planet's air. Judy warns them that spacesuits are now essential, and will give them just one chance for successful donning. they must not take any risks. Will acknowledges the perilous state of their current situation and the robot's eagerness to help, yet sadly communicates that it is unable to do so. Penny then confides in Judy how they had previously managed challenging times with the aid of their parents. When John arrived back at Sunshine Base in the danger system, he noticed that other parents were discussing how they had hidden in the sun's coronosphere and could now focus on finding their children. Victor declared that a robot was needed to operate an engine if Alpha Centauri was their intended destination. In response to this statement, John stated that robots have only come for Will and don't judge him negatively or positively. However, should something be taken from them without permission, then those robots retaliate fiercely. John is unable to remove an engine safely. When Victor notices that Maureen isn't present, John advises him to ask her why she's not there. As Don watches the Jupiters come together at the base, he notices that his commands are not being taken into account. Maureen then approaches him to request approval for her job. Despite offering her groundwork, she declines and insists on staying put. Don informs Maureen of John's arrival back, and she politely thanks him for the update. John, summoned by a technician on John's Jupiter to depart the cabins in order for repair work to be initiated, travels over to the hub and informs Maureen of his return after glancing inside Will's cabin at the whiteboard. Unfortunately, she is away. Everyone follows Judy to the spire in order to climb it. During this, Will discovers peculiar termite-like bugs making holes inside the rock. Meanwhile, Smith accompanies Robot as they monitor things from below and notices that Will has started acting differently than before. For everyone's sake, she states that he is keeping something hidden and directs Robot not to keep quiet about whatever it knows. Finally, Smith departs while Robot does not utter a word in response. That evening, the expedition made camp against a rocky face. When VJ brings Will out of his nightmare with an inquiry about how he's doing, Will hesitantly admits that the conversation between him and Penny has been strained. Their shared longing for what once was fills the air as they both express their mutual yearnings for times past. As Maureen makes her way to the hub, John is already there waiting for her. She expresses concern about having another shift and needing rest while John informs her that they need help cleaning out the children's bedroom. Her spouse questions why she wasn't handling matters at home, but John chimes in reassuringly that they are all involved with this task together. Maureen concedes feeling overwhelmed as a mother now, yet finds solace knowing she has support from John. Regretfully, though, before departing for her cabin, she sighs heavily and leaves. The following morning, the expedition was ready to make their final ascent in their spacesuits. Despite Liam's offer of help, Vijay presses on alone and is soon overcome by a mysterious mist. Fortunately, his line stops him from falling any further, whereupon Judy rushes down to check that he didn't sustain too much damage. It turns out his wrist had broken during the incident. Smith stealthily enters Will's quarters at the camp, skimming through his paperwork. After Liam brought Vijay to the camp, Judy and her siblings started to excavate a titanium vein while an updraft moved a loose rock. Taking a short break by the waterfall, Judy sent back the other miners before they could build tents at nightfall. Penny then happened upon a radio receiver in Judy's bag, which made Will assume his sister was searching for their father Kelly, who might have had contact with Fortuna Lander that evening, as they were located high enough on ground to pick up its signal. Given that they have enough titanium, Penny assumes Judy will lead them there and charges Judy with hunting for a new family. Judy is barely able to answer before termites start to invade their tent, a telltale sign that the rock beneath them was cracking. The twins quickly donned their helmets, realizing that these pests were eating away at one of the pillars supporting them. In response to Penny's question about what they should do, Will proposed an idea. He suggested they fly it up on an updraft. Judy and Will then fashioned makeshift glider suits from materials in their tents, as Penny watched with skepticism for assurance it would work. As their hands intertwined, they jumped off the edge of the spire. Fortunately, a gust of wind lifted them up and brought them to safety as it crumbled behind them. When they arrived at the mined titanium bags on a ledge, Penny placed her transmitter in Judy's hand despite her reluctance. Both relieved by this miraculous escape, they hugged tightly together, while Penny expressed that John's absence was due to Judy's actions. She had been harboring resentment toward her for an entire year because of it. Judy had Penny's best interests at heart, and that fact was not lost on her. In fact, it was something she hadn't experienced before. Will and Penny encourage Judy to go off in search of her father while they take the titanium back home. Judy responds with a heartfelt sentiment. "That's what families do," she says lovingly, then begins climbing the wall. Early the next day, Will and Penny return to camp, where Will completes an acting captain report with assistance from his co-captain. Soon after, Ms. Smith confronts Will about her suspicion that he knew he didn't need titanium ore for their mission. She inquires as to why this is so given most of it had supposedly vanished without a trace. As revealed by him in response, the robots are searching for him and have learned his name along the way. Smith responds that she's adept at keeping secrets and departs when he asks her to keep it a secret. Perched atop a ledge, Robot vigilantly guards. Smith assumes it's him when Will joins the gang and informs that someone has been meddling with the ore and they must repair it before departing from this planet. After reaching his final verdict on Robot being at fault, he recalls flinging titanium into a lake, an event which perplexed Will Robinson himself. Unexpectedly inscribed on its body was "Help Will Robinson," causing him to assume Robot assumed he would rather not confront what lurked beyond their world than tackle it head-on as an adult now. Therefore, in order to beat whatever malicious presence had befallen them, one could only face the challenge straight away. No turning back. After the gang have all made their way to Alpha Centauri, Robot and Will are forced to bid farewell with the others in order for them not to be put at risk by any assailants. As they part ways, Will suggests that if Robot truly wants help him, it should put its faith in him. After a glance towards each other, Robot replies, "Trust, Will Robinson." As Maureen strolls past Will's cabin, she spots John examining their son's baseball in amongst the other items. She enters and reminds him that it isn't his responsibility to deal with this alone. When he makes it back to the hub, John is still hoping for her and the kids to be there too, something which has never changed despite everything else that has happened over time. As he takes a seat next to Maureen, they share an understanding of what might have been if things had been different. To remove any doubts from her mind about what Moore could have done differently, Maureen expresses how hard she works not think about those memories anymore. Gently taking hold of Maureen's hand in reassurance and comfort, John compassionately shows his support towards them, both being through such difficult times together. Will gazed up at the spire as he strummed his guitar, trying to hide his awe from the other kids gathered around him at camp. To get a response from Fortuna, Judy climbs the spire and puts the transmitter to use. When Judy reaches the summit, she is rewarded with a signal. Every morning John rises and heads towards the hub, the central point of activity on board their spaceship. When he arrives, Maureen has already scrawled a reminder on the whiteboard. Find their kids. After all, they are traveling through space with them. Robot remains vigilant, watching as a flurry of debris enters the atmosphere and crashes nearby. When it investigates further, peculiar patterns appear in the terrain. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notification for more movie recaps.